It's off exit 10, presented by Capital District Sport and Fitness.
Okay. Yeah. If you got to, just do it. We'll be good. We'll be all good.
We have plenty of interruptions, motorcycles and things like that just randomly pop on, and then we're like, what the hell is that?
I don't think Impact knows that I film them in my office. And sometimes I'll be on one and look like the ring light on and like my mic, and they're just like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I was in a meeting.
They're going around. They're like, I think Tom has an OnlyFans. So he's in his office.
He's in his office as a ring light.
What's going on? I don't want to ask him, but
called all the small things.
Yeah. That's why I call it small talk.
That's great.
I told you what my channel would be if I had one. I said it on one of the earlier podcasts.
The crisp cannoli.
It would be crisp cannoli.
That's so good.
There's actually like a place called the Crisp Cannoli in East Greenbush.
It's in East Greenbush.
Yeah.
You been, Shane?
No.
Come on, Shane.
Come on.
But it's right in that new plaza with the pizza shop.
Yes. Mm-hmm. We know the guy that
with Nick's. It's this kid Rocco that we played Pop Warner football with back in the day growing up.
Okay.
It's a good spot. Definitely check it out if you're over there in that area.
Yeah. What'd you play growing up, sports-wise?
Football. Yep, football. I played basketball up until like freshman year of high school, and then I realized I wasn't a basketball player. That I didn't have the body type for to.
Wish I realized that.
Yeah, I know, me too. I mean, like my dad wrestled his whole life, and like my whole life he was like, you should wrestle. You're aggressive, like, and you're strong. Like you need to wrestle. And I was like, no, Dad, I want to play basketball. And he's like, all right, fine. You don't want to play in college? Like, go for it. Like, you're not gonna make it.
Yep.
Wrestling, I didn't know anything about wrestling until I got to college.
Bunch of savages. I loved it.
Savages. And I met a kid who lived down the hall who was a wrestler. And I was like, oh, fuck. It's like, I always play team sports, which I love, and you can learn so much from it. But I'm just like, that individual aspect of like, what I'm putting in is what I'm gonna get out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think I like, it's so funny being in a college setting. I'd see athletes that like my athletic career got cut short because of my mental health in high school. It got cut short my sophomore year, and being a college strength coach and seeing athletes like take that shit for granted. Yeah, and just like seeing some athletes that were like, I was like, bro, I was such a better athlete than you, and you're a college athlete. That's crazy. Yeah. Like, that's crazy.
It's tough too to when you start to see that in your head, or like what you could have done, or you see an athlete that is doing what you thought you could have done, and then obviously you had setbacks that prevented that from happening. Or you see a kid that's like got all the talent in the world and everything but the work ethic, and you're just like, what is going on?
Haven't you seen that over the years, just working with different types of athletes, like at higher levels? Like some are grinders and scrappy. Their like natural ability is not that high, but they've grinded themselves to that level. And then you have guys whose natural ability is off the charts, but their work ethic isn't great, and just their natural ability has taken them to that spot.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think the higher and higher I went, I think I saw a lot of those people like that had all this talent and they didn't have a coach that helped bring it out of them, or they didn't realize what it really takes to be great.
Yeah. What teams? So where were you at collegiately?
I started my career at Siena.
Okay.
Then I was at Tufts. While I was getting my master's at Merrimack, I was at Tufts coaching, and then I was at St. Anselm for a little while, and then I had a really, really brief stop, like literally just a summer before I headed to Impact. I was at Wagner, which I was supposed to be there, obviously longer, but opportunities.
Yeah. So you've seen a lot of different settings, different systems. My wife went to Merrimack. She graduated there.
I loved it.
Great.
It was really nice.
Was Kamal there when you were there?
Yeah. He's like the godfather.
He's been there for a while.
Yeah, he's like the godfather. He's tough, dude. Like super knowledgeable, and like I think he taught classes too, and I got some of the best stuff out of his classes. But like the first like semester, I was so intimidated by that dude. So intimidated. Because you're just getting the field, and this dude just says like, if you say something, like he knows the right answer.
Right.
It's like what I'm saying is not gonna be anything he hasn't heard yet,
Right.
Or really blow his mind. So it was kind of like, wow, I really hope what I'm saying isn't just totally far off.
Yeah, Cressy used to do that to me when I was there.
Really? Yeah.
And I'd be like, oh, fuck. Like, he wants to answer quick, and I got to give it right. I gave him a bad bench press handoff once, and I'll never give a bad bench press handoff again in my life. I don't know what it was. Maybe like 315, and maybe on a fat bar. So, for my little fucking baby hands, it was awkward to begin with. And I just gave a shit handoff. I like nicked the rack or don't bring it out enough. And he unracks it. It's like, what the fuck was that? Just like, oh, I don't know. Then he called some other intern over to do it. And I went home that night. And Paul, how many like unracking videos do you think I watched?
This is how you spot on bench.
Like you can look, like Jennifer probably has one, and I like probably watched it. I'm probably half of the fucking views on there.
That's hysterical, man.
But yeah, man, Merrimack, just fucking. Did you go into Boston a lot?
Yeah, that's my favorite city.
Me too.
I loved it. And I bet obviously, I mean, I don't even count Staten Island as a city. No offense, but that place.
Paul, do you?
No.
That's a
I
Wild
lived
West.
in New York City for like 3 years. Staten
Yeah.
Island's not a city.
Yeah, my
It's-
brother lives in Brooklyn Heights, and when I go, I visit there pretty frequently, and I love it. I mean, it's like it's not what you think when you think of the city. Like
Yeah.
it's just very like is there a nice neighborhood, like good spots. Like I love coffee, like good coffee spots everywhere.
Yeah.
Right, but like Staten Island was just
Staten Island's
Wild.
it's the armpit, man.
yeah,
It's
for sure,
literally the
for
armpit.
Sure. And I'm a gritty dude. Like I love that grittiness, but it was like, this place is wild. It wasn't just gritty; it was just wild.
It's like a step up above. Like Staten Island and Jersey are like cousins.
yeah.
Is that where they do the hot dog eating contest? Is that Staten Island?
I think so.
I think that's Coney Island.
No, Coney
Coney
Island,
Island. Shows so much.
That's
yeah.
like close.
Coney Island's Brooklyn.
Yeah.
It's definitely some characters over there too.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
But it's not Staten Island.
yeah.
It's not Staten Island.
But yeah, Boston's just amazing. Like I think it's just manageable, but like, you get that city effect, but then it's small enough where it's manageable.
Yeah, I
Like,
never felt overwhelmed. I was there
Right.
for 6 years. And yeah, if I didn't want to like move back here and start a family and do this, like guaranteed I'd still be there.
Yeah, for sure.
Never felt overwhelmed.
Yeah. I mean, like, I step off the train in New York City, I'm called an asshole immediately by
Yeah.
somebody. Like,
Yeah,
it's just-
New York's different, man. New York's definitely different. I loved it down there, but
Yeah.
it's a different breed, and it's funny because I go down there now because I haven't lived there in 3 years almost now. I'm not as immune to things that I would like.
For
I
sure.
probably just would walk by and be like, whatever. Homeless
Yeah.
guy over there. He's
Yeah.
humping the something. I don't know. Whatever. He's
Literally.
got his pants half down. Whatever. I'm just gonna
Do
keep
your
going.
thing, bro.
Now I see it. And I'm like,
Holy.
what's going on?
Yeah.
It's just like you become immune to those things when you're down there so often because you're just like it. Especially when I was down there, it was such a grind of like working and I got to enjoy my time down there as far as socially, but it was like wake up early in the morning, go to the gym. I might have a little bit of a break between clients, get some lunch, go back to the gym, do a workout.
Right.
have the
Where
rest
were you
of my
coaching
class.
down there?
I was at a New York Sports Club.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, and
Yeah.
I was right in Times Square.
Oh my
so like
God.
right behind like the Aladdin, the Aladdin Broadway. So it was a great experience because we got a bunch of different people in there. But the gym was literally the shittiest New York Sports Club ever. Like I swear the equipment was from when Arnold lifted. Like some
That's
of it.
wild.
Like it was so old, but people would come there because of the environment that like us as trainers created and the GM created.
That's
So like
awesome.
I had trainers that were like, I would never work out, or clients that said I'd never work out at this gym if like you weren't here or Steve wasn't
Yeah.
here or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is one of the other.
Which is a
trainers.
good testament to
Right.
you as a
It's great.
coach,
Right.
but it's like, holy shit, update your gym.
Yeah,
Like,
believe me, we tried.
Yeah.
We tried. It was
Yeah.
tough. And then that gym, ultimately because of COVID, that gym shut down shortly after. Their lease was up, and they were like, "Yeah, this is
Yeah.
we're just losing money here."
I think I have a deeper appreciation for New York City now when I visit. I love going down there and
Yep.
visiting my brother and so my girlfriend's getting her doctorate at Hofstra
Okay.
in child psychology. So she's closer to Queens, like she's Nassau County, Long Island. So we
Yep.
go into the city a bunch then, and like I really enjoy doing it now.
Mm-hmm.
I think like I think part of the reason I didn't love being there was because of the atmosphere of like work and just like
Yeah.
I worked 40 straight days for a football training camp at Wagner before I took the job at Impact, and I was like, bro, I am so burnt out. Like,
Yeah, I guess that's with any field, but I feel like this field is especially like that's the nature of it.
I mean, coaches pride themselves on I worked this many hours this week. Like, bro,
Yeah.
why is that a flex? Like,
I think
you could do the same amount of work in 40 hours. Like, why wouldn't you? You know, and I
Right.
think people in this field definitely use that as like a badge of honor. Like, I've worked so many hours. Like, yeah, we all have. Like, that's what this field requires to even get your foot in the door. But it's not like that in any other field.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you definitely listen. You got to put in, I guess, time. You got to build your work capacity
For
in,
sure.
in the actual working sense and have a work ethic. But yeah, it's a tough field. Like I fell out of touch with a lot of friends, you know, who work a 9 to 5
9
job.
to 5. Yep.
And you know, they'd want to go out on a Friday night or a weekend. And
Yes,
I'm more
100.
introverted as it is.
Yeah.
So you know how it is. Your social battery gets so
Yeah, oh
drained
my
in
gosh.
here. And then over the years, it's like, you just fall out of touch.
Yeah.
No, that's so true. That's so funny. I was having that same conversation today with my weightlifting coach, Sam. Like, I am probably the most extroverted introvert. Like, I do all this mental health advocacy work. I'm always speaking places, and obviously the Smallest Talk podcast, like, and coaching, right? And then I go home and I'm just like, done. Social battery is just drained, and
Yep.
it's like, you know, my friends are working 9 to 5s and they don't understand that, like, all right, you guys can go out all night and like on a Monday, if you're not recovered, that's fine because you could just be sweating at your computer.
Right.
But for me, like, I'm on the floor, and like, even if you're coaching one person, right, like, it's a relationship and a connection. And you
Sometimes-
have to give something to somebody, and it's you're giving all your energy to something.
And sometimes the one-on-one, I feel like you're giving
More.
More, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, 100%. Because
Yeah.
otherwise it's just silent.
Yeah, awkward silence. So
Yeah.
you're like, oh, what do I do now? All right, here we are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's real.
Do this exercise.
Yeah.
But I think just as humans, we all need to be like socially stimulated during the day. And it's just, if you're working a computer job, no knock to you, but like you're probably not getting that social stimulation. So, you know, you're going to get it after,
Yep.
which
Right.
is just for us. It's like you're
Yeah.
tapping it all out,
All day.
all
All day.
out during the day.
Yep.
How's it been transitioning from the college setting? You know, you said all the schools that you worked at. This
Yeah.
is your first private
Yeah.
sector job.
Yeah, it is.
What are the biggest, just like, I guess, day to day or what's on your head, like differences?
Yeah, I think the biggest difference for me coming from the college setting to impact was into the private setting was really the business side of things, right? Like, I mean, like, my degrees are, my undergrad's in psychology and health sciences, and my master's was in exercise science and strength and conditioning. So I was never trained in, you know, budgeting and these certain things. And eventually I was going to get to that point. You know, my goal was to be a head strength coach. So even if it was in the college setting, I'm going to set a budget for the department. So, you know, budgeting and then, you know, but actually selling things is different, right? Like, I could do a budget easy, but like having to bring in clients and athletes and attract people is different. Like at the college setting, even if I was a head strength coach there, I could do the budget, but I'm giving my teams.
Right.
Right. And so those are the teams I take care of, and I worry about them. But now it's like, you know, you get X amount of clients and you have to retain them. And then you have to, you know, for me, it's not my facility. So I gotta make sure I'm also, you know, doing things for the owners of the facility. And so I think that's definitely been the toughest part, is making sure that I'm doing all the admin stuff that I need to do to make sure it's successful. And I think just like everything, it's a learning experience. And I think I definitely have stepped up to the plate as time went on. I think like the first 6 months were definitely like, oh shit, like I got to make sure I do this, this, and this. Like that has to be done every week. So, but I mean, I think the easiest part is the coaching, man. Like anywhere I go, like I always say, like I could coach. I feel confident I could coach any group athlete. Like I could step into a gym, make relationships with athletes, and coach the group. Right. Like my interview at Tufts actually was, you know, Dan Kopsko was probably he was definitely one of my best mentors. And when I interviewed at Tufts,
He's a strength coach at
yeah,
Tufts.
he's the director of performance at Tufts University, and he's actually also, he just got named associate AD, which is great because I think strength coaches need to be associate ADs. We need them in admin more. That's how you're going to value the field more.
Right.
But he
What does it do if they're an AD? They're just going to value.
the performance department more. They're going
Right.
to value paying people more. They're
Right.
going to value the hours of and what the work they do, and then also like the budget of the performance department. So I think that's super important. But yeah, so my interview was literally, I had to write like 3-day block, like in-season block for a swim team. Like I didn't know ahead of time. I walk in with my suit on, like with my portfolio, and he said, write a 3-day block. We'll be back in 10 minutes. You'll defend it for 30 minutes. So I'm up at the whiteboard defending this.
You didn't know this was coming.
No idea that this was coming. And then I'm defending this for 30 minutes. And I think, I mean, you could probably see, like if I took off my jacket at that point, like you could see my tattoos through my white shirt. That's how sweating. I was sweating. I was doing. It was absurd, man. I was just like, yo, I cannot believe what I'm doing right now. Adrenaline through the roof. And then, so I think I'm done. And he's like, all right, come with me. And he's like, you're going to coach this lift today. And it's a group of field hockey girls that I have never met in my life. But that right there, like, was one of the best coaching sessions I had. Because, like, I just was like, I got to take care of this group. Like, I'm going to make sure I know who they are and what they're about. And I looked at the lift, and then that was that. Like, but, like, being able to step into situations and to coach anybody is super, super helpful. I think because of all the hours we spend on the floor, I think it's almost inevitable that you're able to do that eventually.
Yeah,
For sure.
I think, did you learn that through your own personal struggles, like how important it is when you have a group of kids in the gym? Like, let me learn about them as a person and make sure I'm building strong relationships.
Yeah.
And then, like, I'll worry about the details of the exercise
100%.
after that.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, like, coaching in general, whether it's strength and conditioning, performance, or sport coaching, like, it's all about relationships, right? Like, you could have the best program in the world, but to them, that's just a sheet of paper or on a tablet or on our phone, whatever it is. Like, to us, it's like, you know, we spent hours on that shit.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, sometimes, like, I have a sign that says, did you fill out your training card today? And, like, because to me, like, I'm like, I can't spend hours on this and not know what day they're of the week they're on and like what weight they use for this, like what their RPE was
so
this
real.
day. Like,
So real.
come on, bro.
Yeah,
Like,
there's
just-
private sector struggles. Did you sign into class today?
Yes.
I forgot. What the fuck are you here?
Yeah.
And did you fill out your
Like,
sheet?
come on. You have literally one job. Show up. Like, just make sure you fill out your training card. I will do everything. The weight, like, I literally have formulas built into my Google Sheets that will calculate the percentages and the weight that you need to do for each set. Just fill it out.
That's it.
But yeah, so I mean, I think, like, again, like, that's what it is to them. It's a piece of paper, right? And they don't know how much work I put in, outside for them, which they shouldn't have to, right? Like, they come in here because they need the guidance and the assistance and that development. So, but the relationship is what's going to really drive that development.
Yeah.
Well, you know what made me, obviously I knew like it's just a piece of paper to them, but there was one time we were in here and Dan, one of our other coaches, we're sitting there, we're talking about programming, and he's like, I think I'm going to switch this kid over to some in-season stuff because he's got the season coming up in like 3 weeks. And we're sitting there talking about stuff, and one of the girls is over there. She's like, "You guys actually like think about this? I thought you guys just were like, oh, that looks good, this looks good, that looks good." So it like to them, like for most part, especially like kids, it's like it's a sheet of paper. Like,
Yeah,
you know, it's just like
100%.
it's like homework. Like it's a sheet of paper. Like
100%.
you know, and then that relationship you build with them is what's gonna drive everything.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
that. It's the experience that they have. It's like thinking of it as an experience.
Yes, it's exactly what it
Yeah,
is.
and I think it's also, especially in the private setting, I think this was the other thing. Like, I do a consultation with every athlete and their parents beforehand, before they sign a training package, because it's a commitment and it's an investment on the parents' side and on like financially and for driving them and for a lot of them, and then also for the athlete. Like, you're coming in twice a week at least, like maybe 2-3 times. I think the max I let anybody come in is 4 times a week because nobody needs to train. No high school
well,
athlete.
especially high schoolers now.
Yeah, it's just too much.
Like, wait, when did you start working in the college setting? Like, when did you graduate?
2019.
Yeah, so I bet have you even felt a shift since then? Like for me, when did I start? I started in 2011, and then it was more clear cut with kids that they had like their in season and their off season and their preseason, or that they were just multi-sport. So you kind of were training them like they were in season all year because they had their 3
Right.
different sports. But I feel like in the last 5-6, you see way more. At least I'm seeing way more single sport.
Oh,
Are
so
you?
much. And I think I always encourage, like, I'm like, play another sport. Like, and, I get it, because if they're not, it's gotten to the point where if they're not only playing that sport, they're going to fall behind because other kids are doing it. But you're gonna move so much better. You're gonna be such a better athlete playing multiple sports. But I think also the high school coaches don't really help the situation at all either, because they want their athletes outside of the high school team to do stuff with them in the off season.
Yes, okay, you've seen that as well.
100%.
That I've seen ramp up even more.
Yeah. So much.
Where it's hard. Yeah, because then if you're playing Shen baseball and you're not doing Shen fall ball and Shen winter camp,
Right.
you're probably pretty fucked to make the high school team.
100%.
Yeah.
Which is
100%.
crazy to think about. I mean,
Even if you're like one of the best athletes.
Right. Just because you didn't show that commitment to the team. It's like, dude, he was literally playing Shen football. What do you want him to do? Dude just ran for 250 yards last night. Like, what do you want?
He's got to go ice up a little bit, all right?
Like,
yeah.
I think that, and then obviously, I think you guys are probably, the pitch count, like for baseball players in high school. Like, I'll have dudes that come in, they're like, yeah, my coach made me throw like 90 pitches yesterday. I'm like, bro, like, your arm is gonna fall off. You're 15. Like, it's just like some stuff like that. Like, it's just like these coaches don't think about like how much is going on in their lives.
Correct. Yeah. Why do you think that is? Why do you think a coach, it's a high school coach. I'd say that's probably, you see that more, that it's a high school coach requiring like mandated additional like requirements throughout the year that then prohibit you from doing other sports. Like, why is that? Why do they put those constraints on kids that then limit the other sports?
Because I think there's definitely, there's definitely an ego thing.
100%.
I think there's a lot of ego involved, and I think relationships are built when the ego's dropped, right? When we're able to be our authentic selves and show our true vulnerabilities and our true strengths and weaknesses, like that's when relationships with athletes are built. And that's why, I have a lot of athletes that come to me, they're like, oh, my high school coach is like, like I don't really love him. I don't hate him, but like
I'm happy we're having this conversation, because I've never had this conversation with somebody that's not one of my colleagues here. So
it's like, oh, the same things are happening at every gym. Good. Yeah. So I think it definitely is. I think ego is a stem of a lot of different things, especially in youth sports and like with parents living vicariously through their kid. I mean, I see that probably, every 3 to 4 athletes, there's one parent that's literally like, texting me at like 11:30 p.m. like, hey, can Johnny get in for a 7 a.m. session before school? And I'm like, dude, don't text me after 9 p.m. Just unless there's I tell my athletes, like, you can text me if there's an emergency at any time. Like, I'll always stand by that. Like, if there's an emergency and you're like in trouble or in danger, I will always pick up the phone for you. Parents, after 9, fuck off.
Clip that. Clip that shit, Shane. But boundaries is real hard in the private sector.
Oh, 100%.
It is.
I don't think, it's weird because I thought leaving a college setting, it was going to be like boundaries going to be so much easier.
Harder.
No, it's just a different setting, right? I think parents are the new sport coaches, right? For me in the college setting, I worked with some phenomenal sport coaches, and I worked with some that were just this thought they knew everything because the way they did it was successful, so they think that's the way everybody should do it, right?
Yeah, we see that.
So so I think it just is a different population that gives you trouble now.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that, obviously, like, I have some parents that, like, family wise, like, they've taken care of me and they're just like super flexible, and they're really, and like I go see the kids' games and sit with the parents, and they're great people, but then it's like you get the 20% that's just really like, hey, didn't sign up my kids last night.
Right.
I know you have a 12-hour pre-sign up, but they're gonna come at 8, and it's like, they are, or are you telling me, or are you gonna ask me first?
Right. Well, I think it's you just are reading. You're knowing the parents' intentions.
Yes.
Right. And you're
sure.
you're fucking just trying to take advantage of me right now.
I think I am younger. I mean, like, compared. I think.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm young, but like I'm like, it's like, to them I'm young. So it's like they look at me like, oh yeah, he has a lot of knowledge, but like he doesn't have a life outside of here. Like, he's a workhorse.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like sometimes people do think that.
I think that's
actually really good.
That whether it's here or when I was in New York City or whatever, it's like, until you establish that relationship, they think that you literally just eat, live, and breathe. Like, and you're like, dude, I have a life.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I do have a life outside of here. It's not very exciting, but I
No.
do have a life outside of here.
No, like I'm gonna go home and watch The Last of Us, but like
Yeah.
it's like
Like,
Good show. You're working on it still?
yeah, I just started actually.
Oh.
Yeah,
I gotta go.
Yeah.
I gotta
Jay.
finish it.
I
I've only watched the
haven't-
first 2.
I haven't gotten to so like many. I just watched The Night Agent too on Netflix.
That was good.
That
I
was
watched
that was exciting.
It was entertaining.
Not for
Yeah.
you, Jordan. Or yes?
Didn't watch it.
Oh, okay.
No idea.
Okay.
I don't know if that's a Jordan show.
Yeah, I don't know.
What's your
either.
vibe, Jordan?
What's that?
What's your vibe?
Last of Us?
Jordan,
Okay, good, yeah.
Jordan likes to use his brain. I feel like.
Sure.
Well, and you're
Uh,
a video game guy, so
So
yeah,
Last of Us
Last of Us.
works.
Yeah, it
It's
comes
so
together
funny. Like
there.
I don't remember that game.
Yeah,
don't either.
2013
That's so wild. Like
was the game called The Last of Us?
it was.
screw me. Like, I was playing the same shit over and over again.
Were you a big gamer?
Not really.
Yeah.
Growing, I think I played more when I had friends over and stuff.
Yes,
Like I
yeah.
played Call of Duty. I played like Madden and 2K and
Yep.
you know MLB The Show and stuff. But like I was definitely more active than the average teenager. But I also think I missed that generation. Like I think we all did, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, we just are right.
Like I feel like you're like the last
of it.
The last
Yes,
of
and
it.
I'm so thankful
you're
for
the
that
last of
every
us.
day.
You're
Yeah,
last of us.
what was the last system that you owned?
PS3.
Yeah, that probably answers the generation.
Right.
And like mine was a really that I played was a PS2.
Right.
Mine was a PS3, and then the only reason I got a PlayStation 4 was because COVID hit, and I was in New York City at the time,
Yep.
and I was like, I'm not gonna be able to go anywhere.
Anywhere, yeah.
And I only have a PlayStation 3. I'm like, shit. I can't.
Yeah.
I was like,
I gotta
so-
get my hands on one.
So I got a PlayStation 4 knowing that it was going to be cheaper because the PlayStation 5 was coming out. That thing got used for probably 3 months, like a good solid 3 months. So
Yeah.
like I was playing that thing a lot.
Yeah.
And since then, it just collects dust. It just sits there
Yeah.
and collects dust.
That was kind of my thing. I was like, I think it was in college when like the PS4 came out. I was like, all right, am I really gonna buy this? Like, I literally have student loans I'm paying. Like,
Yeah,
this
that's
is
the other
so
thing.
irresponsible. Like, I'm not gonna play it enough. Like,
Right.
I gotta not. It's not. It's like Step Brothers when he's like, "Don't lose your dinosaur" speech from the dad. He's just like, "Don't lose your dinosaur." Like he's like, "You could never be a dinosaur. Like you have to grow up one day." Like, that was me. It was like, it's time to put childish things aside. I gotta grow up a little bit.
Well, and like for me growing up, like the PlayStation at one point doubled as my DVD player and all that other stuff, right?
Too, right? Like I
So-
could get a smart, like my TV in my apartment's a Roku TV.
Yeah.
Like you get all the apps on it now.
Right.
Like,
I don't need a PlayStation. for
PS3,
that.
it was like sick. It was like, yo, I could get Blu-ray discs on here. I can get Netflix and Hulu and all this stuff on
Yeah.
here.
Now I don't need it.
Blu-ray was short-lived.
Blu-ray
Yeah,
was-
I feel like it was a DVD Blu-ray.
It was
quick and then
it was
streaming.
fast after VHS to DVD, and then from DVD to streaming. Like that was super fast. Like I feel
Yes,
like
100%.
VHS and videos were around forever, and then from the time like DVDs, because then you had like Netflix was actual DVDs, then you had Blu-ray for a little bit, and then it was like streaming, and it was like a 10-year period. I feel
I
like.
read something yesterday about how the founders of Netflix like presented their idea to Blockbusters,
Yes.
and Blockbusters just laughed in their damn face.
Yep, and
then Blockbusters, every single store went out of business.
that is a true
wild.
statement.
That is awesome.
We had Redbox too at one point. Like that was a big thing. Redbox was around for a short period of time. Redbox was awesome.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I used to go
go to the
there.
grocery store like with my
Yeah.
mom,
Yep.
and then be like, "Yo, I'm getting a movie."
I would go there when they started doing video games, and I'd rent.
They did that?
Yeah, I'd rent the video game, and then I wouldn't return it because the fees were cheaper than buying the video game. I was like, I'm just gonna do this, make my life way easier.
Yeah.
You know what's wild, Jay? In Chatham, there's still a store called Video Visions.
Listen, we all know that's a front.
That has to be, right?
Yeah, it's one of the last.
Has to fucking
It,
be.
it still is like
What
a
is
video.
what
Like
is
a
movie
behind
rental
the
store.
counter?
What is
What is
either-
underground?
It's either like a front or it's just like old dudes who don't know the internet just like buying porn still.
yeah. 'Cause I
They're just
remember
driving
walking in
enough.
there.
They have the same population for the past 50 years, and it's just going to drive business the rest of their lives.
Yeah. I remember walking in there. They had the adult section that was like wooden doors, like you know, it was like super old school.
Yeah. Can you ever change? I think the single sport thing, the train's already moving too fast.
Yeah. I think it's almost about like catering to it now. like
Right.
And I'll always suggest playing multiple sports, especially like I have 10-year-olds, right? Like I'm not gonna like they should play multiple sports, but like it's almost like we need to make sure we're in contact with those coaches that are like, so like for example, I have Scott Chambers does a really, really good job with his pitching lab in the Capital Region. I have a bunch of his pitchers that come in, like 3 or 4 of them. And I text him and I'm like, hey, like what's their plan for the week? Like, so does it take extra leg work from me? Yes, 100%. But that's gonna save their arm, 5 years down the line. They have a long ass career ahead of them. Like so I think it's almost like putting in the extra work to make sure that we're all on the same page with things.
Right.
Rather than trying to stop them from playing one sport only and like trying to being like play 3 sports, and trying to battle. You're almost battling against like something that's kind of undeniable.
You're hitting your head against a brick wall.
Right.
Like that's
really
really
are.
what you're doing. And in actuality, like you said, communication with the coaches that they're doing. If this is what they're gonna do, there's just got to be open communication so we can make sure that their plan here doesn't take away from there. And that's when I get kids in here, especially like the kids that are grinders, that just want to go hard the whole time. I have to explain to them. I'll literally ask them the question. I'll be like, "What's your sport?" And they'll look at me. They're like, "Baseball." I'll be like, "Yeah, not weightlifting."
Right.
I'm like,
right.
that
right.
could be something down the line, but right now this is to make you better for that. So we have to make sure that we're compensating for what you're doing out there, what you're doing in practice, what you're doing in your hitting lesson. Because baseball to me is like the one that you're doing. They're doing like 1,000 things. Like they got hitting here, pitching here, fielding here. I'm going to do weight training here. Then I got to go do my team practice here. It's like, holy shit, dude.
Yeah, I had a kid.
Go take a nap.
I had a kid because it was April break that literally went from hockey practice in the morning to a baseball practice for a separate team, and then a baseball game for another team, and then came to me, and I was like, bro, like, do you want to do like some belly breathing? like,
Yeah, it's just foam roll.
Bro, like that's what we did mobility and like got his hips going, and then kind of just like did some ankle mobs and some arm care, and that was that. Like I'm not gonna trap our deadlift dude. This kid.
I think it's communicating with the coaches and the kids and or parents, and then just understanding what the accumulated stressors are that the kid has all week.
Right.
Because you don't want to, if they're pretty maxed out, and then you're just pushing them over the edge in the weight room.
Yep.
Right. And then it's also like now the kid gets frustrated because they're not hitting, their usual 80%, right? Or like that feels super heavy all of a sudden because they're dog tired and their body has accumulated so much stress. Like your numbers can fluctuate like 8 to 17%, each day. Like I snatched today and 90 felt like 130 kilograms. You know what I mean? Like so it's like, and it can kind of differ each day. So like especially depending on what's going on in your life. And so I think the more communication, the better with these coaches. And I think something I've kind of leaned on is Zach DeCant. Is someone I learned it from him. His book Moving Over Maxes. He's a baseball guy from TCU.
I was just gonna say I follow him.
He's tremendous.
I follow
He's
him
tremendous.
on Instagram. That name immediately sounded familiar.
Yeah, I mean, I'm big on like shouting out coaches that just do good work, right? Like my biggest pet peeve in this field too is like coaches that don't lift other coaches up. Like, bro, we're all doing the same shit. Like
But
just to some degree.
That's
right?
common in this field
Right.
too.
It is 100%. 100%.
Because of this person has this methodology and I have that methodology.
Right. Like don't work in absolutes, right? Like what works for some people might work for another person, might not work for another person. But he uses a vertical integration method, and I think with high schoolers, it's actually been super applicable. Is I can't do an annual plan, right? Like that I did with teams, right? Because like to some extent I do, but things are constantly evolving and constantly changing, and I don't know. I'm not going to get a hold of like all their schedule each week, right? And so when I was in a college setting, it was super easy to plan. Okay, this week they have 3 games. We're going to tailor the volume down, and we're gonna emphasize this physical quality, right? Like super simple because you're going off the basic academic and the sport calendar. For this, like I can ask for an athlete's in season schedule, but for the most part, their schedule is constantly changing. It's going to so many different places. Their volume from a different place is changing. So what I like to do is kind of emphasize is work on all the physical qualities, but emphasize one more than the others on certain days. And so that's like vertical integration is kind of emphasizing those qualities, but picking one to emphasize more on one day. And I think that's worked well for them. I think it's worked well for the high schoolers have responded to that well. And then when you get college kids coming back, I think it's easy to do kind of that monthly or 3-month plan of like you're gonna be home for this I can build blocks and preparatory blocks and different hypertrophy blocks or whatever it is, right? Power blocks, like, because I know how long you're going to be home for. I know what you're going to be doing when
Yes,
you're home.
it's much easier. It's like Mike Boyle's been doing that for years, like these concurrent training programs.
Right.
Yeah.
Or like, which means like what Tom's talking about in terms of multiple fitness qualities. It's like we can train mobility and strength and speed and power and whatever, energy system you want in a
Right.
session. But we're training them all, but we can prioritize one or the other, right?
Exactly. It doesn't mean, like, it's obviously you can't, when you add strength, your mobility might decrease sometimes. So like, but that's why you got to keep that mobility in the session. So then it's not decreasing, even if you're prioritizing strength, right? And so I think just kind of hitting the big rocks for these athletes is like the main thing. And obviously you guys do a tremendous job here with that, is hitting those big rocks of like, you guys know what they're going to need. I think, like, obviously you guys played sports, right? Like, I think for me, like, I was in a college setting. I think that was the biggest advantage I think I had as a coach coming from the college setting to the private setting, was like, and something that I didn't realize was a selling point. It was just kind of me. It was like, listen, like, I've seen the difference between a physically developed like freshman and somebody that doesn't play, right? Like, I've seen that like firsthand in every single sport that I worked with, like, who, like, the physically prepared freshman that comes in and the one that's not physically prepared. And so, like, I can kind of tell athletes what they need to expect and show athletes what they need to expect. So I really try to program like a college weight room and try to show them like, capacity building and like pace of work and that kind of stuff, and kind of sense of urgency when you're in the weight room and stuff.
What qualities do you feel like, excuse me, you want to work on the most with the high school athlete, the kid who's like trying to make the team or trying to go from high school to the college level?
I mean, I think speed is king. Like, force is king. Mike Kamal said that all the time. Like, in class, like, force is king. The kids that are playing are fast. They're fast as shit. They're powerful. But that also means, like, mass moves mass, right? So I think like a lot of these kids are undertrained. But what I'm seeing, like I went to a high school basketball game this year, like Shen Niskayuna, and I was like, dude, like, maybe it's just me, but like when I was their age, like, kids were just bigger. It was just weird. Like these kids looked just undertrained. And so like these kids need muscle mass, like bad. They do. So I think the strength aspect is definitely something they all come in and want to build. So that's kind of an expectation. But I think moving well, first of all, is like the main thing. Like, keep the main thing. The main thing is like long-term, like, athletic development. Like, you need to move well and move efficiently before we can start loading you up and loading a bar on your back or in the front rack position, right? Like, so I think like the biggest thing is movement, prioritizing that movement before, that loading phase and understanding that there's a process. I always say, like, have you ever had brisket before, right? Like, you slow cook brisket, right? It's a slow
brisket.
I know. Hey, dude, if there's a new place, Rolling Smoke, where Half Moon Sub Shop used to be. It is so good.
Oh, I didn't know that wasn't. I didn't know that wasn't Half Moon Sub Shop anymore.
Yeah, it was really, really depressing. But then the barbecue spot popped out of nowhere, and I was like, I could.
So
it
it made you less depressed.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, shout out.
Sorry,
I
didn't mean to sidetrack the brisket.
No, the slow cook is big though, but sometimes it's hard. You have to really educate parents on playing the slow.
100%.
Playing the long game.
I totally agree with that, because I'll have parents where they're like, he doesn't look any bigger. He doesn't. And I'm like, first of all, look at his age. He hasn't hit puberty yet. Like you're not going to see any physiological changes. But also, like, even an older high school, even as like a 15-year-old, right? Like, you have to make sure they know, like, hey, he couldn't get below parallel in a front squat. He's doing that easily now. Like, so like those aren't measurements that like he couldn't do a lateral squat without like bending both knees, right? I mean, like, so movement wise, but you have to have measurable results in this setting, right? Because it's an investment again.
Right.
So I think that was definitely another adjustment for me. Like, and I think in a college setting, you need measurable results, but those kids most of them were already trained. So you're going to get measurable results regardless. For here, it's like, I don't want a 1RM a 12-year-old.
Right. No.
Like, you just can't. So then it's like,
I don't know if I want a 1RM a 15, 16, 17-year-old.
Right. 100%. I think I say like sometimes we'll work up to like a heavy double or like, and it's not like a true max, right? It's just really hard to do that with their bodies. But those numbers do help. They help sales, which I think that's my least favorite part of the game, right? Is like, I'm not here to, I have to be here to sell you, but that's not my intention, right?
Yeah.
Like the minute my career turns into sales more than coaching is the minute I walk away.
Yeah.
Right. Because my core purpose, and I say this all the time on my podcast, is serving others. Right.
Yeah.
Like, because like I felt the trauma in high school and in college and the struggle that I went through, and my core purpose is serving others in any capacity. But in my field, it's helping others. Like, I'm literally here for your development. That's what I tell them. Like there's like, my skin in the game is seeing you succeed.
Yeah.
Like, there's no other skin in the game for me, right? Like, that's it. Like, so like, I want to make sure that you're succeeding.
Well, and going back to that, like, that was one of the toughest parts for me in New York City and working in that corporate style setting is like, they have things that they want you to do and numbers they need you to hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, shout out
and
Drink
whatnot.
Alchemy.
You're not allergic to pineapple, are you?
No.
Okay, good.
Okay, yeah, enjoy.
Just making sure, because Dan's allergic to pineapple and there's pineapple in it. But like in New York City, like, I was the head trainer when I first got there, and my whole thing was build a relationship with your client, because then that client won't leave. And if retention is high, you have to have less sales total.
They have faulty cans. I just want to tell you.
Come
a faulty
on,
can.
Drink Alchemy, fix your cans. What happened over there?
It didn't fully open.
It didn't fully
when
open.
I clicked it open.
Unbelievable.
It could be a me thing, honestly.
We're gonna blame you on this one.
Yeah.
This episode of Off Exit 10 is brought to you by Drink Alchemy. Fatigue and brain fog affect us all, destroying everything we pursue. Whether as an athlete, artist, creator, or entrepreneur, our mind holds the key to performing optimally. By combining the most potent organic nootropics found in nature, Drink Alchemy delivers sustainable boost to creativity, memory, energy, and focus in one epic beverage. Stop pumping your body full of excessive amounts of caffeine and unknown proprietary blends from other energy drinks, and get clean energy from Drink Alchemy's natural nootropics like lion's mane, L-theanine, and caffeine from green tea. Used by Olympians, D1 athletes, MMA fighters, and entrepreneurs, Drink Alchemy has become a huge part of my daily routine, making sure I'm functioning optimally during long days of coaching athletes, running CDSF, and getting in quality workouts myself. So do yourself a favor and ditch the energy drinks loaded with caffeine, other stimulants, and who knows what else, and head over to drinkalchemy.com today. Live with your mind unbound and save 10% off your order by using code CDSF at checkout. That's drinkalchemy.com, promo code CDSF for 10% off your order today.
But yeah, like, when I stepped down from being the head trainer to just being a personal trainer for my own personal, like, free time, and money wise, they brought in another fitness director who was at another location. Right. So he oversaw like 4 locations. He was never in our gym to see how the day-to-day went. And he was like, oh, you guys got to get more FOs. That was our strategy sessions, fitness orientations. You guys got to have more FOs, more this, more that. And I looked at him and I was like, I can't fit any more in my schedule because all of my clients come back. Like, they don't leave. Right. I have like a couple leave here and there, but then like somebody picks up more sessions, or I get that one more client because I see, okay, I have this. Like, I can't have, and that's where for me I was like, all right, I started planning like my exit strategy, and then COVID hit. Yeah. So luckily I stepped into this position here, and things have worked out great.
Are you from this area?
Yeah, so Mike and I actually went to have known each other since we were like 7.
Where'd you guys go to high school?
Chatham. It's a small school, a little south of Albany.
Yeah, so Mike and I have known each other for our whole lives, basically. Same with like Jordan.
Well, and we were talking.
You played in college, right?
I played baseball at Springfield. I played for my first 2 years.
Springfield Mafia.
Springfield. Yeah, we had this thing, SC Alerts, where if there was like a stabbing or a shooting, you know, they'd send you a text on a Friday night, like stabbing on King Street. You'd be like, I'm on King Street right now.
I'm not stabbed.
But yeah, so I played 2 years in college, but I got burnt out.
Yep.
I went to fall ball my junior year, and like pretty quickly I was like, this just isn't the same. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not looking forward to this at all. I'm feeling like, oh man, why can't I be in the weight room lifting right now? I'm at practice. Mm-hmm. I was like, yeah, this is it. I'm done. So I went into coach's office.
That's good. I mean, how's that walking away?
It was fine. I think I was so burnt out. So in high school, I played baseball and basketball. Basketball,
We were
wasn't
on the
great.
basketball team.
Yeah, I liked.
We were
yeah.
on the basketball team.
But I kind of just put a lot of pressure on myself, probably from like 14 on all the way through college. I think that just took a really big toll.
Yeah.
And really now, so it was 2011 I stopped playing, because that's when I got my first internship in this field, was that spring when I had stopped playing at this facility, Conca Sport and Fitness in West Springfield. It gave me a great start and was super helpful. But yeah, like even to this day, I have no desire to ever play a game of baseball again.
If
Yeah,
you have
it's
told me
crazy.
that in high school too, knowing like Mike growing up, that Mike would have only played 2 years of college baseball and then been burnt out, I would have said you're out of your fucking mind.
But now,
Right.
can't you see that with?
But now I can see that.
But can't you see that now with the 15-year-old who comes in the gym? He's putting immense amount of pressures on himself. His coaches, his parents are.
100%.
It's starting to affect his performance. It's starting to affect other things. in
Tale
his
as
life.
old as time. I
Yeah.
swear. You know what I mean? Like it's just it's so common now to see that burnout. I ask because also like I think identity after sport is a really tough thing for a lot of college athletes too, high school athletes too.
I think anybody that was an athlete,
Right.
like, that's what you like. Even for me, I still view myself as an athlete, and at times
Right,
I'm like,
right.
all right, I'm more than that. But
Right, but
you
it
know,
definitely is like
a
I
hard
think
thing
it's
to-
definitely a really tough pill to swallow. Is like, okay, like my competition career is over. Like I'm not gonna be competing anymore. And like for a lot of people, especially at the college level, it's like senior year playoffs. If you lose, you're done. That's
Yeah.
it. Your career's over.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah,
like
well,
it's,
especially at a D1 level where it's such a time commitment. That's all
Right.
you've really been doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Like it's funny you bring that up too, because I listened to here and there the Old Man and the Three, JJ Redick's podcast.
Yeah.
I love JJ Redick.
Yeah.
I hate Duke, but I love JJ Redick.
His
And
podcast is awesome.
yeah, him and I think he had J.R. Smith on recently, because J.R. Smith has a documentary on Amazon, and they were talking about like
J.R. Smith.
redefining yourself after being a
Right.
professional
I'm
athlete.
just laughing at this J.R. Smith.
If you watch it, you won't laugh. You won't laugh because it's like that's why he did it. Because
Right.
like so many people have a perception of who he is.
I asked you about that yesterday.
And like that's not who he is. Like, yeah, he got in trouble and whatnot, but almost any 18-year-old at that time that got cut $20 million,
100%.
what are you gonna do? You know?
Yeah.
He was a bucket, man.
But that Scott Van Pelt says on there. He's like,
He was
when I
a
think of J.R.
bucket.
Smith, I think of a walking bucket.
He was a bucket. Man.
Exactly what he said.
Oh my god.
But him and JJ Redick were talking about that, and JJ Redick said he did struggle like for a little bit with
Yeah.
it and figuring it out, and that's when like the podcast thing started up and a couple other things that he's doing and whatnot. But it is a hard thing as an athlete, whether you're a college athlete or you're a high school athlete who's burnt out that wants to stop, and you have to figure out. I've put in, you're 17 years old, you're a junior in high school, and you go, damn, I'm not enjoying this. I don't want to do this.
Right.
This sucks. Like I like working out, but I don't want to do.
That's
like,
why it's nice when you see
know.
kids who have other hobbies,
I
whether
know.
it's art or music.
Oh, dude, it's the best. Yeah.
You're like, okay, good.
Yeah.
You don't
You're gonna make
identify
it,
just
pal.
as
You're gonna
that.
make it.
Yeah.
Because we went to high school with a kid, Josh Kais, and he made it to the NFL, went to BC, freak athlete. Kid was unbelievable. And everybody knew from when he was like a 7th grader, this kid was going to be a good athlete. But he never identified solely as an athlete. He was a snowboarder. He is an artist. He has an art gallery now in Houston. And it's really cool to see
That's awesome.
that. And then also when we get athletes in here that I'm like, oh yeah, you like to paint and draw and this and that
Yeah.
or whatever. You like to just go on. You want to be an 80K or whatever.
Right.
Like, awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Like,
I think the flip side of that is also that like sometimes I think athletes, when they have those other interests, are looked at as like, oh, you're not committed to the sport,
Yeah.
or like you don't love the sport enough. And it's like, just because you have another hobby doesn't mean you don't love the sport enough.
Right.
Like especially these professional athletes, right? Like I remember Trevor Lawrence had a quote like after he got drafted. It was like, if I never played football again today, like after today, like I wouldn't, like it wouldn't be the end of my life. Like I wouldn't, it wouldn't crush me. And it's like everybody is like red flag, red flag, red flag, and to me, I was like I also was like, oh, I don't know if I would have said that, but you already got drafted, number one, so you can say whatever you want now. But like, it's true. Like he felt fulfillment in other areas of his life, so that if he walked away from football, or his football career was taken from him, like due to injury, he would still be okay. And I think like you're seeing a lot of athletes, right, with mental health struggles, that their careers chopped short, and then the result is XYZ,
Yeah.
right? I don't even need to finish my sentence,
Yeah.
right? That's what I'm fighting for, right? Is to make sure athletes don't have that.
Right.
Yeah, you see that now. Daniel Bard's in the news now. He's on the IL in baseball.
Giannis just came out and talked about it.
Yep.
Giannis just came out and talked about
Well-
how Kevin Love helped him.
Yeah.
How old were you when you said your high school career got stopped due to?
Sophomore year, 15, 16. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I definitely didn't expect that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely didn't expect that. I think, was I going to be this, all-star athlete? No, probably not. Do I think I could have pursued to a higher level? Yeah, I do. I definitely do. Because I think I put so much into it and didn't get to see the reward. But I think, Jamie Christian's someone I worked for at Siena. He's a phenomenal basketball coach. And he told me, like, a lot of times in life, you're going to put in work for things that you might not ever see the reward of things, right? So, like, my goal is to always leave places better than I found them, right? And I think every school I went to, I did that. At Siena, when I left, they had tremendous success in the athletic department, and it was upsetting to me, especially with basketball, that I never got to experience that with them. But what Jamie said was, like, you were part of that foundation. Like, be a part of that foundation that sets that cultural change. Like, I know the mental health work I'm doing is going to change some lives, but it might not. I might not see it. I might not be here on Earth anymore when that generational change and that shift of thinking towards the stigma around mental health is actually changed, right? Because the work I'm doing is going to take a while, right? It's just the reality of it.
Yeah,
Especially when you get to those, I'm not going to change the 70-year-old man that thinks, you need to tough it out, right?
Yeah, I
I'm
feel
going
like-
to change the younger generations and help them understand that these challenges that you're facing don't define you, and also, like, it's not a weakness.
Right.
Right.
Do you feel like that's trending? That older generation is trending out, and the things you're talking about is starting to trend. Have you seen that more in recent
Yeah,
years?
I think so, and I think the more the conversation is going, the more they're seeing it. I think, but I don't think you're going to change certain people's minds.
Well, yeah.
And I think that's okay, right? Because you're making impact elsewhere, right? Like, if we get into the grassroots and the youth level, right? Those coaches, but I do think you could change 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds' minds on things.
Why
Like,
don't- if you're cool, can you tell a bit of your story? Because I didn't know
Yeah,
much about
definitely.
it until I went on your website and scrolled
definitely.
through and
Yeah.
watched videos, and that'll just open up us to talk about
definitely.
mental health in sports and
absolutely.
stuff even more.
this is actually good.
Yeah, I like it because it doesn't have a crazy high caffeine content. There's not other bullshit in it like there is in You Have a
that's good.
Bang or yeah.
Oh my God, Bang was like,
Dude, I just saw the funniest video for Bang the other day, and I was dying about, like, wake up, drink a Bang.
yeah.
Super
At
crazy.
lunch, I drink a Bang.
Yeah.
At dinner, I drink another Bang.
That was like the biggest, before I tell my story, that was the biggest, like, self-reflection moment I had in the college setting. I was like, I drank 3 Bangs today. And it just because I needed to, like, operate to be able to do my job. That's not who I am. Like, I want to be I want to be doing my job because I'm rested. I was like, yo, this is too much. Like,
Yeah.
no.
I was there too.
Yeah,
In New York,
it's bad.
I was the same thing.
It's bad. Yeah, so I mean, I was, growing up, I grew up in Connecticut, had parents, it was me, my brother, and my mom and dad. And then, I think probably middle school, I realized how much anxiety I was having. I realized kind of how much depression I was having. And, but it didn't really materialize until, like, freshman year of high school. And by freshman year of high school, I was having these these violent intrusive thoughts, like, which obviously, like, if you don't have OCD, it's like people hear violent intrusive thoughts and they're like, oh, this guy's gonna, like, kill somebody, right? Like, it's like it's very scary to share. Like, I felt like I couldn't share it because with anybody, like any adult, because they were gonna, like, lock me up or something because nobody knew what it was. But it, these thoughts were taking over my life, right? Like, and with the OCD, so OCD stands for obsessive compulsive disorder, and so the compulsions are what you do to try to alleviate that anxiety. But the problem with doing those compulsions is it's just a cycle, right? It's just feeding that chemical in your brain that monster in your brain of, like, oh, do this compulsion because it's going to stop XYZ from happening. So like for example, like one of my most like terrible intrusive thoughts that I had, especially in high school, was like my family's going to die in a car accident. And I would do these compulsions like pick up this can 15 times, 25 times, whatever, right? Brush my teeth 15 times, right? Like, so like you do these like everyday tasks. And for me, it was like doing it until what they call like therapists call like just right. Like it feels just right. And for me, it would be like 25 times, 50 times, 100 times. So you see where this is going, right? Like those thoughts are taking over and forcing you to compulsions that literally like at my worst, I was literally doing like 12 to 14 hours a day of compulsions, which leaves like 10 hours a day of everything else, like sleep, sports, school, social life. Like,
And being a 14, 15-year-old is hard enough as
right,
it is.
right. So, I don't know what the fuck is going on. Right. I think I'm the only person that's with OCD. Like you think the thoughts are so insane. They sound so crazy to you. So you're like, there's no way anybody else is having these thoughts. So I didn't share until it got to the point where I wasn't leaving the house. I was feeling unmotivated. I didn't want to do anything. I was absolutely petrified to like go to school because I was afraid I was going to have these thoughts and be like doing certain like steps in a like I would step on certain tiles and count my steps. And like, I mean, people notice. It's not, these behaviors are not normal, right? So like people would catch on and be like, what the fuck is he doing? Like weird dude, like red flag. Like girls are probably like, dude, what? Like, who is this kid? Like weird, right? So like to me, I didn't see any of that because I'm just so tunnel vision on like making sure my family doesn't die in a fucking car crash, right? Which obviously isn't going to like, I don't know if it's going to happen or not, right? But me doing this compulsion has no bearing on that. But to me, your brain, when you have obsessive compulsive disorder, your brain can't decipher that, right? Your brain can't understand that me doing this compulsion isn't going to affect that intrusive thought, right? Like there's no correlation there. And the thought's irrational, but your brain can't decipher that. So it got to the point where, like I said, I was like homebound pretty much, missing like days of school at a time, failing out, like literally like D's and F's across the board. And my parents were pretty close to sending me to an intensive treatment center, but it's just, the cost. And they didn't want me to be gone, like, and because then all of a sudden that, it's like delays life, right? And was my life delayed already? Kind of, you know what I mean? So it kind of like it wouldn't matter, but there was also just no spots. So like she was calling like OCD specialists in like New York, and like we were going to travel and stuff. So like, because people will say they treat OCD, but like it's a very specific type of treatment. So the first two therapists I had that I went to that were just like talk therapy, and I was walking out like still like counting my steps and not feeling any better from my OCD symptoms and not learning how to cope with them. And for me, it was like, this is fucking useless. Like, this is not helping. And then finally, my mom was desperate at this point. I told her that.
And you're how old now? You're still in high school.
15. Yeah. I told her that I didn't want to live anymore. I was struggling with suicidal ideation, pretty heavy. And it got to the point where my mom was literally like found an OCD specialist, like actually like 20, 30 minutes away from home. And she didn't have any spots left. And my mom literally like left a voicemail and begged for her to take me. Like she was like, my son is going to kill himself. Like just straight up, like I do not, like he's going to have to be hospitalized. Like there's no way, like no one has space. There's no one that treats anybody like you do. Like please take him. And Amy took me as a client, even though she didn't technically have any space. And I started going, a couple times a week, and then she would do home visits, where we'd like we'd do like the exposure therapy. So what therapy is it's a type of cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. It's called exposure response prevention. So pretty much what happens is, and it's miserable. Like people don't realize this. Like when I say I go to therapy, people are like, oh, that's nice. You get to talk about your feelings and complain about stuff. It's like, no, like I do actual work. Like, so I would go in, and if I say I was having an intrusive thought that I was gonna grab a knife and like stab somebody, or my parents were gonna die in an airplane accident or a car accident, whatever it is, I would have to literally confront that fear like face to face by not doing the compulsion my mind was telling me to do. So I would literally like, if I wanted to pick this up until it was just right, I would have to like pick this up and say, my family's gonna die in a car accident, and put it down and sit with the discomfort, like the extreme discomfort of thinking I just killed my whole family. And that's how you respond to OCD and learn how to cope with the anxiety from OCD.
How often are you exposing yourself and sitting in a session?
Like we would plan, like, so we would usually start with like a hierarchy. Like you start with something very like, that's not gonna, there's like the scale, like 1 to 10, like 10 being the highest, amount of anxiety you could feel. So you'd start with something a little that wouldn't provoke you as much, and you get kind of up. So you'd probably do like 3 to 4 exposures in an hour session, because the anxiety doesn't pass for a while. Especially, so like for me now, like I can do like this exposure maintenance work on my own, like in between therapy sessions. I still am there once a week, but like I know I've done it for 9 years now, so it's not anything like I like don't know, right? So like I can do it kind of and know that like that anxiety will alleviate in like 30 minutes or maybe an hour. But like when I was at my worst, like it could take like all day, like literally like 12 hours of like me like just in my mind like petrified that like my family was gonna get harmed. And so like then it was like, okay, now I have to go to school. like now I have to do homework now. And so a lot of like my life, I was labeled as, in high school, I was labeled as, especially in the beginning, I was labeled as lazy because I would be late to class. My homework wouldn't be done. But it's like, I'm actually literally working double time to get stuff done, because I'm fighting the compulsions to not do the compulsions that could be like 12, like, taking up hours out of my day. So I'm trying to get the homework done on top of all those hours. And then I'm also fighting this excruciating anxiety, this debilitating anxiety, while trying to do your work, right? So it's like, I'm not lazy. I'm working 10 times harder than the fuckers in this room.
Yeah.
And it was definitely, it was a tough pill to swallow, because like now I think people misuse OCD. It's been a chronic misuse.
Does that drive you crazy when somebody
so
says,
crazy,
I have OCD?
Yeah, it's so tough, man. It's so tough. It's like, and you can't, and I'm such an educator now, and like I've been in this advocacy field, this space, and I've been a lead advocate for the International OCD Foundation for 4 years now, right? And so like I've really like try to tell, like I try to educate everybody, but at some point, like it's like you're not gonna get to everybody, right? So like, and you have to kind of pick your battles a little bit, because like someone standing in line at Starbucks, they say I'm so OCD, like I'm not gonna go like jump the line and say, do you have OCD? Like it just looks like, because you don't want to come off as like, they'll label you as like a mentally ill person that it's acted all crazy in Starbucks, right? Like you want to be an educator and say like, listen to me, like I'll tell my story on my terms, and so you can listen to it, because I'm doing all these things while also suffering, in silence, behind the scenes, and you would never know if I never told you, right? So like that's the side I want them to see, is like I'm high functioning, and like with therapy, with medication, like the combination of the two, I'm able to live a high functioning life. Like we always say, like you don't want to just like survive, like you want to thrive, right? Like you don't want to just like get to the point where you're not suffering and you like enough, and like you're good enough to like have a decent life. Like I want to like be able to do what I want to do, and so like I didn't want OCD to take that from me, and like it did for a while. But I think like what I want people to see is like, if I never opened up about it right now, like to people, and you had just met me, like they wouldn't know, right? So I think it's it definitely is frustrating. Like I think OCD is not the only one that gets used like that too. I mean, I've heard someone say like, oh, he's so bipolar, not me, but like them, like, or they're like, oh, he's so bipolar, or like, oh, he's so schizophrenic or something, like stuff like that is like, bro, that's literally like a disease.
Yeah.
Like you're like, I wouldn't say like I wouldn't make fun of somebody for having like a terminal illness, right, like, or a broken leg, like, oh, you fucking cripple. Like, I wouldn't say that, right, like, because it's a visual thing. Like, you can see that person's hurt, but people minimize the mental side because you can't see it.
Yeah, and it's used too many times to describe somebody's the bipolar thing made me think of this. Like when somebody like 1 minute's happy and then the next minute they're pissed off about something, but no, something pissed them off.
No, they just literally have human emotions.
Yeah, like, they're not
that's
bipolar. They just have different emotions, and they were having a good day, and then something caused them to be not in a good mood.
Right, correct. And I think what's tough about it is that not everybody's. I think I almost went into when I started advocating was like they don't want to learn kind of, and it was almost like a little frustration built up, but it's kind of like it's almost innocent ignorance, honestly. And that's what I call it. Is like some people just weren't educated about it, from their parents, from school, right? I don't think the schools do enough about mental health. I can't blame them for what they don't know, right? So that's why I'm taking it upon myself to educate people, because like I'm not going to blame somebody for not understanding what OCD is.
Are you ever afraid like you're gonna slip back or start?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think I was in a situation in college, got to college obviously, which is a miracle in its own right.
Yeah, I'm sure you think about 15-year-old you and then what you're doing now. You're probably like, holy shit.
Yeah, did not foresee that at all. And I think, but I think I was in a situation where I was being belittled about my OCD by a individual that I trusted, an adult that I trusted, and he was using it against me, calling me things like a school shooter, would like tell me that like I'm gonna be the next Unabomber, that I need to take my crazy pills like every day, and so that's when I slipped up bad. I went home for a couple months because I was, nobody deserves to be, that situation was resolved, thank God, but like nobody deserves to be put in that situation where they're being bullied for something they can't control, or something something that they're trying to manage on their own. I think that caused a relapse, right? Like I think I think the thing about the treatment for OCD is that it's about learning how to cope, right? Like OCD is chronic. Right now there's no cure, right? So I know I'm going to be dealing with this for the rest of my life, right? So I have to be at a point where I feel life is totally worth it because I know I can cope, and I know the things I want to accomplish, and I know how to do this maintenance work and not let myself fall through the cracks. And I think it's also a testament to my support system too. Like I was definitely, my parents by no means did they know everything about OCD, but by every means did they support me, right? And I I'm very, very blessed that God gave me them, and that, and my brother, who's my best friend. Like I got very, very fortunate with the support system, but that a lot of people don't have. And I recognize how thankful I was, and or how blessed I was with that support system. So I definitely think different factors play into relapse. I think it's also about putting yourself in an environment where you're not necessarily going to relapse. You know what I mean? Like, so like, right. I think for me, like my lifestyle, right? Like I have goals with my weightlifting career, right? Like I've kind of picked up being an athlete later in life now. And so like having something to work towards, and then between coaching and being, a role model for these kids, and then with the mental health advocacy, like, the organization I started, like it's being around things that lift you up is going to help you kind of not fall back into that trap.
This episode of Off Exit 10 is brought to you by Anchor and the all-new Anchor Pro, crafted to endure the most high-performance workouts without the high cost and space requirements of a standard cable machine. Named the best portable cable machine by Men's Health Home Gym Awards, Anchor provides the full functionality of a cable machine in one small space-saving unit. Designed with user-friendliness in mind, Anchor can simply be attached to any squat rack or placed on any wall in your home gym using its intuitive sliding track mount. With up to 65 pounds of resistance, Anchor is built for high speed and controlled exercises alike, from cable presses and rows to chops and lifts. The Anchor has been a game changer for us here at CDSF, and now you can enjoy the same professional quality cable machine in your own home gym by heading over to anchortraining.com and using code CDSF10 for 10% off your order today. Get all the benefits of a cable machine without the high cost and installation fees. Enjoy the portable luxury and space-saving performance of Anchor today by going to anchortraining.com and using code CDSF10 at checkout. That's anchortraining.com, promo code CDSF10 for 10% off your order today. Yeah, I mean, you've probably had to get, at a much younger age, better at reading people.
Big time. Big time.
You know, and what their intentions are and what their
Big time.
energy is.
Big time.
And
Yeah, and I think that's part of opening up is when I did open up to that individual, that adult, right? Like, that's the reality of things. I might get some negative feedback, right? Like that was a tough pill to swallow for me. I thought like me sharing my story was always going to be like, that's really great of you. It's not always that way, right? Like some people think it's bullshit. Yeah. Like some people don't agree with it. Some people don't want to listen. Some people, want to use it against me, whatever it is. But like,
Don't think it's real.
yeah. Right. Don't think I'm actually suffering. Whatever it is, like they can think what they want, but that's not going to stop me from telling my story because I know there's 15-year-old me somewhere else out there that is struggling with suicidal ideation and needs that person.
yeah, that's who you want to find and have your voice getting into their head, just
Right.
to be. Because how long did it take you even talk to your parents just to be like, okay, I can.
Years.
Years.
At least 15.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. And I think, it's funny, like, not funny, but like it's ironic because looking back, hindsight's always 20/20, but I was having those intrusive thoughts in elementary school.
Yeah.
I just didn't know what the hell they were.
Right. Well, and I like that you brought up that you still do go to therapy too, because like we've had other people on here that go to therapy for other reasons, and whether it's childhood trauma or whatever, and they've said that they thought they graduated therapy, but they were like, you never really graduated.
Right.
You always, at some point, there could be something that triggers that trauma, where you're gonna need to go talk to that person that you trust.
Right.
And you trust that person, and you can open up to that person and tell them everything, and then they're gonna help you with the tools that you may already have.
Right.
But you just need like a reminder.
That's something I've heard you talk about a bunch, Jay. Just developing tools to be able to,
Yeah.
to be able to help.
Yeah. I mean, it's crucial. It's crucial. I think, people don't treat the brain as a body part, right? And I think
most important muscle, man.
Right. And I think people don't treat it as such, right? So like I take phenomenal care of my body, mobility. I'll do all my stuff I need to do on the side of weightlifting, right? So I should definitely do all the stuff I need to do on the side to take care of my mental health disorder, or even if you're not diagnosed with a mental health disorder, we should take care of our brain, the mental side.
Well, it's funny because I just saw a video. One of my good friends that I play football with, and he owns his own business and everything, and he posted a video talking about how his dad, when he was younger, his dad was a CO, and I forget why he brought it up, but he's like his dad was telling him, you got to grow up. Why don't you be a CO? And bear in mind, he is 5'6", 5'7", 150 pounds. He's like, this 150-pound frame knew at that point that I was not going to be a CO.
Yeah.
He's like, but our parents grew up having to use from their shoulders down.
Right.
They didn't have to do a lot of things from their shoulders up.
100%.
So,
100%.
They're taught to be, the brute for the father, like go out there, work hard, do this, do that. Mom's taught like, take care of the kids, cook food, whatever. Get money that you need to get for the family, all that. Now he's like, I could be in a million places at one time because of my brain.
Right.
And he's like, that's where we need to exercise strengthening our brain and from our shoulders up more than focusing as much on shoulders down. Still got to work on that, right? Because that's going to maintain your health, your longevity, and everything. But you got to work more on the shoulders up, almost twice as much probably as you do on the shoulders down.
100%.
And it's just ironic, funny, however you want to view it, how you were bringing that up. And I literally watched this video this morning, and I was dying because he's also hilarious. Like he did stand up comedy for a little while,
That's awesome.
Like his whole. Like how he talks on there, it was just hilarious how he told the story. Yeah. But it was like,
there's truth to it.
Our parents were shoulders down, and we're learning that shoulders up is what's going to help us.
Yeah, I mean, my mom always says like our journey like changed her views on so much, and and she's the first person to admit that. My dad too, my brother too, right? Like, I think it opened their eyes so much that now they educate people. You know, it's contagious. You know, I think it definitely, you know, when you're from Fairfield County, right? Like, I by no means was a Greenwich boy, right? Like, but like, you know, I came from, you know, a working class family, but when you're in an affluent county, this is the society you're in. It's high school, go to a 4-year school, go work in finance, or you know what I mean, like, or go own a business or whatever it is, right? So it's like I was having such a tumultuous path, right? And you know, my mom's like her friends are always like, we were kind of looking at. I remember my mom tells a story. She told her friends that what I was diagnosed with, and they like took a step back, like they could fucking catch it, like a cold. And she was like, "You're not gonna catch it. It's a mental health disorder."
Yeah.
Like people are just like sometimes just don't understand like the magnitude of things, and so but I think when you're from an affluent area, that breaking that mold of like there weren't any strength coaches from where I'm from, really. Like there wasn't like, you know, what I was doing is just very different than what a lot of kids my age went on to do.
Right.
And I think, and the way I went about it too, I think is just very different. I think I kind of broke a Fairfield County, you know, standard of like, and it's so weird to me because community college is a great thing, right? Like there's and trades are a great thing, but like it was like I was told by my teachers I shouldn't go to college because they didn't think I'd make it through, and like it would be too much for me. And of course, like me, I was like, bet, like awesome. I'll see you. I'll see you on the side. Oh, undergrad? Yeah, no, I'm gonna get my master's too.
Yeah,
fuck you. But like, it also is like, if I didn't do that, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like, I could have gone into a different avenue, and it's totally fine.
right.
So I think there's there's so many different paths to take that one path isn't better than the other, right? And I think that was a tough thing for me. It was like I saw all my friends taking that traditional societal standard path, whereas I was kind of up and down and all over the place and didn't know where I was headed. And I think that was kind of tough for me. It was, you know, it was like that. I always compare it to like that meme with like Squidward looking out the window, like to like SpongeBob and Patrick playing outside. Like that was me in high school. I was Squidward, right? Like I was behind the scenes, right? Like I couldn't do anything. Like I was taking care of things that like were like that my life depended on, right? And so like I was breaking that mold of like, oh, like he might. I mean, some people probably thought I was gonna be a deadbeat, but like I wasn't doing that traditional high school and you know, make sure I'm, you know, top of my class and that kind of stuff. It actually wasn't even until I graduated undergrad with like, you know, mediocre grades. My master's, I graduated cum laude, right? Like magna cum laude, because like that's when I realized like what my calling was and like how much I loved what I was doing. And I think when you love something, it's so much easier to study. It's so much easier to hone your craft. Obviously.
Yeah, and to put in hours and to sacrifice other things.
Correct.
Becomes a lot easier too. When did you start anxiety in athletes? Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. So while I was going through this journey in high school, I attended the National OCD Conference. There's one every summer. And I attended it as just an attendee, like, because I wanted to meet people that were dealing with what I was dealing with. The OCD community is like super tight knit. Like, I have the most incredible people from that community in my life, and they're all over the country. There's some in the UK that I know. Like, there's just good people. And I went to this conference. It was just with my dad. It was in LA, and like I was afraid of flying at that point because I was afraid of my thoughts, right? Yep. So I got on the plane. I went to this conference, and it was like the highlight of my summer, man. And then at the end, literally the last session that I went to, they asked for like people to come up to the microphone and talk about their story. Like it's like different like breakout panels and all this stuff and like different like topics that they talk about. It's a major conference, like 2,000 people there usually. And I just like felt called to go up. So I just all of a sudden I was the only person that went up, and I went up and just started just babbling about my story, right? Like hadn't really gotten into public speaking yet, right? And so but I was just authentic and I was just like emotional. And the one of the directors of the conference like came up to me and like got my contact information, and then that led to me speaking on a couple panels the next year about my story. I spoke at, my therapist got me involved at the Child Study Center at Yale University. Spoke at Yale for an OCD Awareness a Week event in October. Then I went talked at the national conference again. So I started getting kind of more and more, into this community, and then it just took off. Like I was on a podcast here. I was on a webinar here, and then when COVID hit, it was like I was doing stuff every week because of the virtual programming piece. Like nobody could go out, so we were doing like a lot with the IOCDF, and so I was doing a lot with the IOCDF, like in conjunction with them, and they were someone that I was extremely loyal to. They gave me so much, and they backed me completely in the situation with that adult and supported me. And then in 2019, I was given the IOCDF Hero Award because of that, overcoming that situation with the adult and for my advocacy efforts with the IOCDF. And so went to Austin, Texas to the conference, accepted the Hero Award. That was like, I think I blacked out that during that acceptance speech. Like my girlfriend, my mom, and my dad were there, and they said it was like, and even like the executive director of the IOCDF was like, that was like the most phenomenal speech. I literally I have it in my computer because and it's filmed somewhere, but like I literally like could not tell you what I said. But it was like, because that was like the loudest, it was like 2,000 people.
Yeah.
And so that was probably like the biggest, it wasn't even like, one thing I did say in my speech was like, I didn't consider it an accomplishment. It was more like I was so blessed to be afforded the opportunity to have that platform. But to me, like the people that I was speaking to are the heroes, right? Like they got on a plane too, right, to come to this conference and battle OCD and fight against stigma. So like to me, like they were the heroes, right? Like I'm just the same person that I was, 5 years ago with OCD. So I think. But so then after that, I became a lead advocate. They asked me to become a lead advocate for the foundation. And this is all volunteer based, right? So it's like another job, right? Mm-hmm. But it's like so fulfilling. Like it never feels like it, And so when I became a lead advocate for the IOCDF, there's 6 of us, and it's like the best group around really really like-minded individuals. And so we meet every week, and each of us kind of has a passion project. Like one of our lead advocates is involved in like the LGBTQ community. One of them is like people of color and like diversity, inclusion with OCD and like affordable care and stuff. And then one of them is with Faith is actually a pastor, and she's getting her PhD from Vanderbilt in theological studies, and is doing like faith, like different things like OCD and faith and spirituality. So like for me, like they need I told them my passion project is athletics. Like I want to change the way administration in college views mental health, the way coaches view mental health, the way athletes are able to get care for mental health, and for the way they're able to open up to teammates and coaches and not feel like they need to hide things. So that was my goal. And so the framework was really, I was like, I want to start like just a website, like a sub website of so it's attached to the IOCDF. So it's the IOCDF anxietyindathletes.org. And so I was like, I want to start this online resource center so people have some sort of resource center to come to. And so I started this task force with other people that wanted to get involved. And so I have some clinicians, some people, some former athletes, some former college athletes, some pro athletes. So like Kevin Anderson was on my podcast earlier this year. He was number 5 in the world in pro tennis at one point, Wimbledon finalist, US Open finalist. He beat Nadal. Pretty sick.
Pretty sick.
Like, it is like pretty wild. Like it is wild. But getting to know him, I was like, the first question I was like, yo, what did that feel like? Like playing Rafael Nadal. Like what? Like you just don't think about how insane that competition is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like it started as a small idea of just being like an online resource center for people. And then it became this almost like this initiative and this it just became so much more than just an online resource center. So we have a website, we have all these resources and blog articles every week, and different guides for coaches for handling mental health, not as a clinician but like as a coach. And then the goal eventually is to do in-person summits, regionally and nationally.
I think that's great. I think you can get that in front of sport coaches, high school, and
100%.
travel, whatever, the scale is you can start on. But
Exactly.
Just make them aware, because you're so involved in it, and we are to a degree just being with kids and talking to them every day. Like, we may take for granted that other people don't even think about that. They don't even think about the mental health side. They just think, oh, this is little Johnny. He hits home runs.
Right.
He's got a great fucking arm.
Yeah. Right.
And that's Johnny to them. He's no deeper than that.
Right. And so I think, there's so many different areas that we as an initiative, as a group, or organization want to cover, right? I mean, but I think the main thing is battling that stigma of how it's more than being an athlete, and that they should not have to hide it, and they should be fostering making sure every team has an environment where it's a welcome conversation is really the ultimate goal, because I don't want anybody suffering in silence. So that's kind of how it started, and so thus the podcast was created from there, and then now it's just kind of becoming, it's expanding. Like it's weird. Like it started kind of slow, and then all of a sudden, like in 6 months, like just took off, and like things just kind of exploded, which is in a good way, right? Like I think we're closer to having an in-person conference, like regionally and nationally, than we thought we'd be, 2 years in. So it definitely is. It's exciting. And then, obviously, like my website, struggleintostrength.com, like I can link all my anxiety and athletes work there. So it's just like getting the word out that like we're looking for people to do more with the organization.
Yeah, I think, listen, kids, you only get so many years to play sports.
Right.
And what we do in the weight room helps them physically to not get injured so that they can practice more and then play more games.
Right.
But then you have the mental health side.
For sure. And I think the weight room, I would say, is not just character revealing, but character building.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So I think the things that they learn out here are applicable to out there, not just from a performance perspective.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I used to tell that all the time to even just adult clients I had. I'm like, what you do think about like the routine you have with this and all that. Like, it's going to translate over to other aspects of your life. Every aspect, maybe not, but other aspects it will.
Right.
And,
I think I'd be hard pressed to find an athlete that wasn't the same person out there as they are in here.
Yeah.
Right. Like who they are in here is very, very correlated to who they are out there. The attitude they have.
Yes.
The intentional work capacity and the intention they have in here when they come in, and the intensity, like all of that is very applicable and usually very correlated to out there.
I think you can tell by how somebody just goes about their training session and how somebody fills out their training sheet.
100%.
It tells you a lot.
100%. And they're not all going to be like, what the 5% are, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it's just the reality of things. But like, if you can kind of try to instill those values as much as possible, why not?
Right? Yeah, and I think that's what the future of this field is, whether you're in the collegiate sector or the private sector or professional sector. It's building relationships, it's personal development outside of the weight room, but also in the weight room that carries over to the field.
Right, for sure.
It's understanding both of those. And no, man, I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
I appreciate you being here. This is a blast.
Yeah.
It's nice to talk to coaches. We're just in our bubble in here every day.
Right, no,
your bubble in your gym.
It's crazy. I always call myself like I'm like a zoo animal, because like my weight room is like there's like garage doors, like glass garage door. You guys will have to come by and see it.
Oh, I'd love to.
Garage doors that look out onto the basketball courts in the facility. And like people always passing by, and I'm like in this like fish tank or
just waving
I'm
to
like,
you.
hello. Like,
should we feed Tom right now?
Yeah, literally. Somebody throw him a T-bone.
Is he on his OnlyFans again? I gotta know if I can go in. Well, why don't you just let the people know where to find you, learn about anxiety and athletes, your website, your podcast, where you're working with kids right now.
Yeah, definitely. So the Smalls Talk podcast, first of all, is on all listening platforms. We're about 20 episodes in now. Had some really, really good guests. Trying to bring people from all walks of life. I think the biggest thing was like not just having males, not just having strength coaches, but having business owners, having athletes, having former college athletes, having clinicians on. We did one that was like myths of therapy, like just promoting those things that normalizing the conversations that need to be normalized. And then strugglingtostrength.com was something that, so struggling to strength was a mantra my mom created when I was going through intensive treatment. It was about turning that pain into something valuable, and understanding that pain can drive us. And so I think what that turned into was kind of like the life mantra of my family and I, and for myself for sure. So I think that's what the website's called, strugglingtostrength.com, and it just has all the resources. So you can find Anxiety in Athletes tab and go more to the website there, and you can see the podcast there. You can see kind of my story and what I've done in the field, and just has all it's kind of just the main homepage for my journey. So definitely check that out too.
Cool. Awesome. I appreciate you coming on, Tom.
Yeah,
it's nice to talk to other people in this area who are just doing right,
for sure,
in this field, and treating kids well and helping them develop.
Likewise,
as
man.
people.
No, I mean, I coming into this area, back to this area, because obviously I went to undergrad in this area, but coming back to this area, like I knew about you guys from the rip, right? Like I know, like that's a place that does it right? I've seen gyms that don't do it right, and I know Capital District is a place that does it right. So it's kudos to you guys and the work you're doing here.
Yeah, man. Happy to meet you, and you came on. So thanks, Tom. We'll catch everyone next time.